Okay, so we're live. Let me share my screen. Give me just a second here. There. Can you see my screen, DJ?
1 second. Yes.
Okay, cool. So, it's been a little while since my last update. Thankfully, my schedule's cleared for the rest of the year. So, well, except I do have a trip. I'm going on vacation here in a little bit. But aside from that, schedule's clear for the rest of the year, thankfully. And hopefully, we'll have more frequent updates. But I want to start off. Obviously, we had a pretty severe, um, alt, mostly alts, but Bitcoin had a pretty big move down as well. But a lot of altcoins went down 70-80% last weekend, and it was just mayhem. So this is kind of like
Savage.
a bit late.
Savage.
It was savage. Yeah, that was insane. I think there was what was it, like 19-20 billion dollars in liquidation, something like that. Anyway, like absolute mayhem. And
Yeah.
so now it's kind of time to pick up the pieces from that. This is my first stream back since, obviously that happened. So it's, trying to see if we can find some decent entries, see what's what now after all that's kind of sorted its way out. And I still think it's in the process of kind of sorting itself out. But I wanted to start off actually in traditional markets because I think this obviously going to have a pretty big impact on what crypto is doing in general. And I don't think I touched on traditional markets in the last update that I did. So I just kind of wanted to share kind of my thoughts there and what I've been working on during this meantime, or during the time since my last update. Actually, you're going to notice something new on my chart, and it's an indicator that I've been working on. And I think hopefully it's going to be helpful in kind of giving me a heads up on when the tide, and this is a macro indicator. I would say this is not really something that I'm looking at day to day, although it does change. And I'll go over it here in just a minute, but this is something that I wanted to create to kind of help me, give me an idea of, big picture, kind of where we are. As far as, it's called the liquidity index. You can see it here. And just kind of give me an idea like how risk on, how risk off we are. And so anyway, I mean, just a little bit about it. It's basically an indicator that I made that it measures, how much money and I would say confidence is flowing through the financial system. So again, basically whether, the environment's risk on or risk off. I'm not going to go into every single thing that it measures, but some of the things that it takes into consideration is Dixie. So it measures dollar strength, bonds, credit spreads, volatility. Like there's kind of a lot that goes into it. But I think it's so far the version of this that I've come up with, it seems to be pretty helpful, and we'll see if it holds the test of time or not. Because realistically, especially the way that this is set up, there's not a lot of iterations at all of so it's like as far as data points goes, there's not a lot of historical data points to pull off of something like this, and I'd say it's designed very much for like the current environment that we're in. So anyway, again, give you a little bit of an update. So like on the liquidity index, which you will be seeing this a lot moving forward, and obviously there'll probably be some improvements and stuff made over time, although I do feel pretty good about what I do feel very good about what it shows so far. But there will be, just so you can kind of read it, the only things that really matter are these two diamonds that you see. There's a red diamond and a green diamond. The red diamond basically is a massive warning signal that the top, or whatever top, or kind of wherever price is at, when that fires off, you should really be paying attention, because it's there's a decent chance that whatever, again, like wherever you are is going to be that it could be a very significant high. And then the inverse is true as well. When you kind of get this green diamond here, it's signaling that there's an environmental change, and whatever, kind of like wherever the chart is sitting at that current time, it might not be a bad idea to put some risk on. So now obviously, like, and I will say that with triple Q, specifically NASDAQ, it was perfect, spot on. And I created this mostly, I was more interested in Bitcoin, which it does take Bitcoin into account, and to kind of like, marking off like critical highs and lows for Bitcoin. It's kind of was my thought behind it. But it obviously is heavily built around traditional market inputs, and it seems to measure it pretty well. So anyway, I mean, if you just go to these diamonds, so this flag, we'll explain that later. But if you go to kind of where this diamond is and you just put a line, you can see that it is literally the top of this move. And then if you go to the green diamond here and you put something there, it's not the exact perfect low, but it gives you a very damn good low before a severe, like significant, like literally like the turning point, right?
Absolutely.
Which is pretty impressive. And if you were to measure this, like and I'm not even going to go from the top and cherry pick this, because realistically, like you would probably be looking at around here, like on, this is where this candle closed, and then be looking here. You caught a 32% move down, which on a traditional market is massive. That's insane, right? So the thing about this is, again, with triple Q, it gave very, very, very good signals. And I'll kind of give you through, or I'll kind of walk you through a little bit like what I'm looking for next, because again, this is something that we will be monitoring going forward, of course. What I want to see in terms of signals is I want to see the liquidity index reach an extreme, which the extreme for the bullish side it's 100. It's an oscillator. It literally measures from 0 to 100. So 100 being pinned out, basically can't get any higher than that. And then this red line here, which historically is a very, very good pivot, right? You can see it's incredibly respected. So like comes up to this 85 level and has a really sharp pullback from there, and then comes up, takes a pit stop here again before it pins itself out. You can see the liquidity is literally 100, right? If you look at this number right here, you can see that it was pinned out, had some, a bit of like oscillation when it got here, went to even, you see how it even went to like, 97. But anyway, it was pinned out this entire time. Just saying that like the liquidity environment here was very good, right? And you have a massive, this is basically telling you that you have the right environment for things to continue moving higher, and continue moving higher it did. And then once it broke this 85 here, you can see that things went to hell. And it again, which is basically saying risk off. Market went risk off, and we had a 30, just from the two lines, not counting the very top and the very bottom. It literally saved you 31%. That's like astronomically, like that is I can't state how big that is. Now again, it's one iteration. This is one event. It's like, am I going to trust this that it works perfectly going forward? No. But I am going to be watching it, right? Like I am curious, and I do think it is a pretty good measurement of like overall liquidity. And, right now, the last signal that we had was back in December of 22. And we pinned out, like we got to 100. If you look at the index, like we literally got to 100, and we've been up to 100 on this recent rally. So again, like I'm spending kind of a lot of time going over this, but I think it's really important because again, we're going to be looking at this a lot going forward. And this is like I would say that this indicator is like, it's a work in progress still. Like I'm still like I'm happy with what it's done so far and kind of the back testing that I've done on it so far. But you know, I'm not, again, it's just a tool to kind of help guide me on, you know, like macro, like high time frame kind of overall price action, right? So what's it saying now? Basically, to me, everything is, it's still fine. Now you can see, this is from before I started the stream. Um, I think it's, you know, it's kind of interesting that, like, if you look back here after we pinned out at 100 and we went, you know, we were pinned out for quite some time. That doesn't mean that we can't have, like, kind of like the reason why I left this here is it does not mean that we can't have corrections, right? Like, and what does that say? That we can have corrections and still maintain a macro bullish bias, right? So what does that mean? It's basically telling you that as long as this is true, as long as we are still bullish in terms of liquidity, that you should buy the dip, right? It's telling you that, like, it's safer to buy dips, and like dips are to be bought until further notice. So again, we had a 12%. That's a huge move down back in 21. That's a massive move down. And it didn't change anything really as far as the liquidity picture. It's a little hard to see with the numbers here. Sorry about that. But it's literally pinned out. All that told you is that this was a really good buy the dip opportunity. And this was a good buy the dip opportunity. So was this until you got here. Then it said, don't buy any more dips. In fact, if you're, you know, like if you're really long equities, it's time to be really careful, right? And then you got a massive, you know, this is like an absolutely huge move down, and it took some time. I mean, this fired off here in November of 21, right? 2021. And then you didn't get kind of like your all clear signal till December of 2022. It was 13 months of down. So again, I like that. That's pretty good in terms of what, you know, like how this particular indicator worked. And it's been up only. Look, you had the crazy, you know, this was a very severe pullback. I mean, this is like basically a crash. But you know, this was tariffs, right? Like we had tariff news. Oh my God. We had a 26%, you know, 25.5%, you know, pullback on triple Qs. And, you know, at the end of the day, like, liquidity was still looking okay. Sorry, it was starting to pull back. We did, you know, hit this major level. Check that out, right? We hit this major level here on the liquidity index, and then we literally pulled back. So it's just interesting. It's you know, this 85 level is extremely important. And you know, kind of where we're sitting right now, we're literally at a 97.5. And as long as we're above 85, how I would interpret this and how I am treating this is any pullbacks we get are to be bought. If we lose 85 and we start to trade below it again, then I would be extremely hesitant to, you know, obviously, like that tells me don't buy the dip, and whatever high, you know, kind of like I will be curious to see where we are when that happens. And, you know, is it going to be some perfectly clean top like this? Probably not, right? I don't know. I honestly don't know what to expect. But I would be curious, like, when that happens, because it will happen again at some point. That's going to up my personal confidence level that if the high isn't currently in, it's very close to being in. So which that'll, you know, that will, and I'd be curious to see when that happens. Again, like, where are we? Like, how do things feel? How do things, you know, where are we in terms of, are we already on a big decline? Are we still making new highs? Are we, like, I don't know, right? And if you look at this here, you're probably feeling pretty good about where things are. I mean, this literally gave you the top. So it'll be interesting. But I will say, like, when this happens, when we go below 85 again, which we will at some point, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to where we are. So going forward, again, that was kind of like a big introduction in a way to it. Talked a little bit about how it's, you know, like what it takes into account. And again, we had a 12, you see, like, and I did kind of an equal thing just to, an equal pullback here just to see like what that would look like today if we were to have a similar correction like we had here, because again, this is the first time that we started pinning out. This was our first, this was like our first correction after being pinned out, right? So, which I think that's kind of where we could be right here. Is like we made it to 100. We were there for a few weeks. This time, it took a long time. We were stuck here for a long time, which is good. It had a lot of upward momentum, but we still had a pretty good correction here. Now, what's interesting about this is like if you look at kind of the structure, right? So you look at this white line. So we made some highs, got pinned out, and then we had that correction to retest this previous resistance, flipped into support before we made new highs. This is really similar, isn't it? And,
Yeah.
maybe it rhymes. This is kind of my thought is like, if we are going to pull back from here, which we have a lot going, the market's been red hot. We've had, again, a 25.5% move down, and that was a lot of tariff driven. Price action here. We also had a massive move up with some corrections. You can see like we had some pullbacks, but nothing really severe like this, right? Like no real good washouts, I would say. Although this one is pretty good. But again, if you look at the liquidity index, what do we hit? We hit 85, right? Like we came on the underside of this, and you see like there was kind of a lot going on here. I would say that between what I think is like hitting kind of a major level like this, and obviously some news with Trump and tariffs, we had a nice pullback. Ultimately made new highs though. But I think I think that we're kind of like in a, I would say structure wise, right? So we had a big move down, and were up only for a while. Big move down here. We've been up only for a while, literally since April. We've been up only since April. And I think that this could be like a first really good pullback. So, and again, do I expect it to be perfect 12% pullback like this into, this former resistance now? Like you can see that we haven't, this was resistance, massive move lower, and we just blew through it, right? Like we haven't actually kind of like confirmed this as support. Not that we necessarily have to, but I do think if we were to come back down to this key level, that is probably a good area to look for, right? Like I think this is probably a pretty nice area to look for, along assuming that we're above 85. So I would say that if we do manage to work our way lower, which I think is certainly possible, we're still shut down. I think government's been shut down for a few weeks. Markets basically shrugged it off. Kind of like up until recently, there's more talk about it now, but I don't think like the market obviously hasn't really cared about it that much. But I do think that if we see any weakness, which going below, so like even zooming in a bit more here, 1 second, like you can look at this locally, and I would say that this level is really important, right? So I'm going to mark this off. Like, and this is getting more granular, like we're kind of zooming in on the last month now, and I would say that this low from September, if we start to trade below this is certainly gonna feel like a high, right? And then depending on how we close the week, literally look at this weekly candle that we're in right now. It's like a nice doji candle, right? Typically when, if we were to close like this, which we still have another day, whatever side that we take out, I would look for continuation there, right? That's kind of typical. But if we do lose this key level at 588, so let's say that we close hypothetically we close the week here, kind of like this, and then next week we violate this key level, right? I would actually look for this full move down. Like I do think that it's logical that we'd actually get continuation downside, which by the way would not be good for crypto. Very unlikely. That would probably not be a good thing. Which we'll get to a little, here in a little bit. But yeah, I would say that it's nothing overly crazy here. It's just a month of sideways. There's a lot to digest. We have rates that's been discussed. We have a government that's shut down. We've had a massive move up. So naturally, not a bad area to take some off the table if if you've done very well here. Gold's ripping. There's a lot of stuff going on. But again,
Trump tweeting.
Yeah, Trump tweeting China, right? So that's like the big thing right now is China, you know, trade war with China type stuff. But yeah, I know, like Trump, he can literally tweet and send the market either direction with ease, right? So, but anyway, moral of the story is as long as we're above 85, and again, this is not perfect, but I feel I feel more inclined to buy dips as long as that's the case. If we lose this level, close the weekly below 85, I think we got big problems. But we're in no, you know, like we're not in any danger, you know, like we're still really far away from that. And it would take quite a bit to get us down. Now, like, can we come down close to this level and test this and then maybe bounce off of that? Yeah, I think that's possible. Um, and you know, I don't want to like get too much into it because I could talk about this for hours. But again, as long as we're above 85, buy the dip. And I'm not financial advice to anybody. I'm just saying for myself, like I'm more. That's kind of like my thoughts. Is like for myself, I feel better about doing it. So definitely way less better if we lose 85. So everybody pretty clear on triple Qs. I think that if we do again, we'll see where the week closes. I think I'll have more insight when that happens, which is tomorrow. Be curious to see how we close the week. Do we close it like this? If so, I would like literally the high and the low of the week is going to be very important for next week. You know, in the next couple weeks, even depending, it could take a little bit of time. Um, but yeah, I think this key level here, if we do lose 588.5, especially a weekly close below, I mean, you have a few kind of areas of interest, but as far as like a really, what I think could be like a just a sweet, um, you know, buy the fear, buy the dip, um, type of level is probably this key level around 539. Again, it's very similar to this, right? It's similar market structure wise. It's similar to, um, it's very similar to like this structure. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Doesn't have to exactly match, but it seems to um, I don't know. It seems kind of good. So SPY, we'll go over that, or actually SPX. Um, Same thing, right? But not as so this is not as good, right? I would say it's still pretty damn good, but not as good. So you can see here on SPX that it gave you the signal, right? Um, but a month later, so it made a new high before rolling over. And then here, kind of the same thing. It wasn't the low by any means, but it was a very like this. I would say is a really good pivot from downtrend is done, and we spent a bit of time kind of going sideways, but eventually up only after that. Either again, same with this. This would have saved you a lot of pain, right? Like this would have saved you some pain, for sure. And like, and even from here to here, that's 16%, which is a lot. That's very big. It's very significant. Um, and that's, but we did make a slightly new high before rolling over. So that's why I say that with this particularly, and again, as you can see back here, the 85 level was really important. I might line a little, it's not perfect. But it was really important region, and the same thing here, right? So again, it's not SPX is huge. So I again, like when this eventually kind of rolls over, then I would be again very aware of kind of where we are, what things look like, and you know, this is literally the S&P 500 and Nasdaq, like absolutely huge signals to me. They're massive signals, and they worked out really well. So, and I'm trying to think. Any questions so far before I get into Bitcoin or whatever you guys want to look at?
I'm not watching traditional market that much, so I don't think I have any.
Yeah. Um, I would say that like that's something that I would still pay a lot of attention to because it's going to obviously influence what crypto is doing, you know, which is why I mean I have I definitely have a lot of exposure to this, so it's you know something that I'm paying a lot of attention to. But
I'm actually starting to learn more about it, but you know, only have 24 hours a day.
let's see. So what do I want to Bitstamp? Is that a good one to cover? So let's look at Bitcoin, the last signals. All right. So you can see why I care. So was it the exact high on Bitcoin? No. Um, in fact, it was like here, right? So it was literally right here, but it was basically the low. Would you be okay, happy if you were say to save 71% of pain and suffering and time, right? Um, so anyway, again, this to me it worked out really well. Like, and this is the main reason why I wanted to like why I spent a lot of time coming up with this. You know, it's not like some new crazy new concept by any means, but again, it's just something for me that I control that I that helps kind of like put things into perspective for me on the macro time frame. Where are we, right? Um, so again, it didn't give you the exact high, but when this fired off, it told you, like, again, be real careful and be real careful buying dips, right? Like, be extremely careful buying dips. Um, so, um, yeah, and I mean even here, so like here it wasn't the exact low, but it gave you clearance to be like, oh, okay, like liquidity's looking better. And then we had obviously a massive move up. So like nice kind of like decent signal here. Wasn't the low, decent signal. And then, you know, it now this again we can have crazy pullbacks, which we have in crypto a lot, right? But this kept you in the game, right? Saying that this is probably something decent to buy, which by the way, here's your flag signal right there. Um, literally right here. Not bad. But it again kept you in the game, right? And then here was your exit. Like here was the oh, probably not a good idea to buy the dips anymore. And then it went down 71% from when this fired off. So and then it gave you as picture perfect as an entry as you could have ever asked for here as well. And nothing. So like we're still so what does that mean? Same thing as you know what I've said earlier is that we're still good in terms of the liquidity index. We're obviously coming off from being pinned out at 100, but as long as we're you don't see this red diamond here, we're okay. Like I mean, I don't know if I should say that we're okay, but we're still looking for dips to buy. I am. Um, so, which is why again I'm looking for longs because I do think that there's, you know, we've had some crazy movement, which you know we'll get into you know we'll get into the actual Bitcoin chart here in a minute and try to like dive in and see what's what. But I wanted to spend some again. I know this is taking a while, and I apologize for that. But I think it's really important that you guys have a like you guys understand this because I'm going to be talking about this a lot going forward, and it's not going to be like you know this is something I can cover in a minute going forward. But I wanted you to understand how it worked. Um. So anyway, it looks okay. Doesn't feel okay right here. I'm sure to a lot of people, especially those that got carried out last week. But you know, on the grand scheme of things, the macro, the big picture, we aren't in any real danger of you know, like do I think the high isn't on Bitcoin right now? I would say no. Like I think that we still have I think that we still have room to continue. But again, like the second that this changes, and I don't know, like I said, like when this signal fires off again, I would be really curious to see where, and maybe like the high will have been in already. I don't know. That's why I can't, I'm not like putting all my eggs in this basket, and I'm definitely still managing my positions like I always have. But again, like when I have reasons to exit a position, I'm going to exit, or when I have reasons to buy, I'm going to buy. Kind of like, like I trade like I normally do. But I will, again, like when this fires off, I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to, we might be making new highs and this thing fires off. That's kind of what I hope it happens, right? Because then it's probably, I can imagine it being a really good indication of like a real caution signal that happens. So, any questions? I'm gonna move on. To the. This is the last chart that we where we left off. And I obviously need to update it a bit. I need to update this a bit. But if you guys have anything to add or whatever, feel free. You can kind of see like really, which by the way, like here on this move down, we literally hit the anchored VWAP of the low on Coinbase. So the Coinbase low perfectly tagged this before it gave you a massive move up to your, which by the way, when the week opened, this is your weekly pivot, if I'm not mistaken, weekly pivot. Came up, literally rejected right off of that, and now we're like strong move to the downside. I did not short Bitcoin actually. I shorted ETH on a different setup. I did close that today. Just because we've kind of like moved down to the region of Bitcoin where it's interested. Like I'm starting to be really interested in looking for a long. So I did close my ETH short. I shorted 42. I think my average was like 42.70 or something like that. It was a different set. It was literally the 618. That's it. And it worked out really well. But I did close that. And I am getting interested in looking for longs now on Bitcoin. And I kind of saved I'm not in a long yet. But I do think that we're kind of close. For again, I'm starting to be interested in what's going on. So this is gone. Was important support. Good. So this again, I need like this. I haven't updated this stuff. Good swing if given head and shoulders fake out. I don't think that's accurate anymore. I would be so kind of like this. Like if you look at Coinbase, did you have good confluence here? Arguably, yeah, you did. If you were looking at this. So again, Coinbase, this is spot. It wasn't the levered, it's not your Bybits, it's not your Mexis, that like went a lot lower. Like there had some exchanges that went down to like 102, Binance, stuff like that. But Coinbase spot only went down to 107. And I would say, again, in hindsight, I was not trading this. I got one position off and I was late even because I had to log into my exchanges. I didn't have anything open. I had to get my two-factor authentication.
Yeah, you have issues with the audio.
Oh, no. Okay, well, I don't think there's anything I can do. So we're just
this is just to let you know.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with that. I don't know, like, because I don't feel like I'm lagging, but well, let me look at one thing real quick. Looks okay on my end, but I don't know. I even updated my streaming software right before just to cover that, so I don't know. We'll figure it. I'll have to look more into that when I'm done. But anyway, you had a good like for Coinbase specifically, you literally came right into your anchored VWAP off of the low, right? And you SFP this low right here. That was excellent confluence here. Again, hindsight irrelevant right now. But on Coinbase, you did have a legitimate. If you were watching this, that was a very clean signal. Like that was a very clean trade to be had if you were there. I was not prepared at all. I don't remember what the hell I was doing. But I had to log in to everything. And the only trade that I caught was a whiff trade, and it was a panic trying to get in, and I was being stupid and trying to like fill limit orders after I was already late. So I had to chase it because obviously, again, alts were down like astronomically, right? Alts were down huge. I think Atom went to zero on like some exchanges or so. Like it was insane. It was like absolute mayhem. The only trade that I even caught was whiff, and it was like I think it was like a 30% gain, which sounds good, and it was good. I did very well on that, but like had I been more prepared, um, yeah, I probably could have done a bit better. You know. Now I do want to bring this up because I think that this is a good message, and it's something I haven't talked about in a long time. But wow, that right there, what happened last week is why you have stink bids. Right? I've talked about this like forever, like since I started this channel, and like I usually, if you have some spare capital lying around, it's not a bad idea to have some really low bids that if they get filled on some scam wick, anything can happen. Or you have some crazy liquidation event that you're not even going to be in front of your computer for when it happens. Like you can, like you can potentially catch some of those types of trades. And to piggyback off of that, that is something that I would only do for spot, just to be real clear. And last week is a great example of that. Like if you caught some of these bids, low ball bids buying spot on some of these alts, you could have done extremely well, right? Obviously hindsight. But that's why you do it. Like that's why, again, if you have spare capital lying around you're not doing anything with, and you feel like we're in an environment, which by the way, like you're going into Fridays after market close, which is when that happened. It was literally Trump tweeted, I think right after the traditional markets closed for the week, and then that happened. It's like it tends to be around those, which that just feels on purpose. But um that or weekends have been crazy sometimes. It's like during kind of like where you expect liquidity to be potentially thinner, less activity. It just seems like that's when these types of things are happening. So, again, do I expect that to happen anytime soon? I mean, probably not, right? But in the future, not a terrible idea to have that. Again, you got capital just lying around not doing anything, might not be a bad idea to have some bids like placed pretty low on levels that you do not think are going to ever get hit or anytime soon. And if they get filled, then great. Um, so anyway, yeah, like you had a nice setup here, I would say. Again, that's hindsight, but plain as day. I think for Bitcoin now, which when I was talking about Bitcoin yesterday, we were I think like 111,000 or something like that when I was typing in chat, and I'd said like I expect lower to come on Bitcoin. And yeah, like I do think, like, look, so on Coinbase we've basically filled in this wick now, which again is why like we've come to the bottom side of this wick. We're getting close to testing this anchored VWAP yet again. I do think that again, this is like I'm starting to be interested in looking for swing longs. Now, do I see anything else quite yet that makes me interested? Um, I have to, like, honestly, I don't know. Which is hopefully we'll dig into that in a little bit. But I would love lower overall. And I do think, again, if equities kind of roll over a bit, that the odds of us seeing like continuation to the downside obviously going to go up a lot. And I would love to, I would love kind of like a deeper pullback, to take like a real swing long. Here, I would say again, we're getting into an interesting region. And the reason why this is interesting to me is literally, again, kind of filling in this Coinbase wick that we've had here, which, like typically when we have long wicks, they have a pretty good tendency of getting backfilled, which I think that we've accomplished that here. Do we SFP this low? Which you can see I have this. I don't have an alert on here yet. Oh, I do. I do have an alert. I think that would definitely be a trade that I would be interested in. Just kind of cleaning up, which arguably I would say that we are kind of cleaning up this region as it is. Again, backfilling it, but I don't really like the price action that I'm seeing here right at this second. like I don't really like. It's not really that good of a reaction. So I do think that we actually could come down and like even take this out. And if we SFP to 107,000, I do think that for myself, that would probably be a reason enough to get into a long. And you would trade it just like you would an SFP. It's like wherever the long or wherever the low is of that, that's your stop loss. And then I would look for a move up. I think if it did that, I would. This isn't really a region, to be honest, like where I would. This isn't really a region that I would look for a, like, oh, I'm on a long here, then I'm going, I'm targeting new highs. I would just look at this for myself as like, if I get into an SFP trade here, I would be looking for, again, some kind of reversion, some kind of, it would likely, like, I just think that if we are to do that, that we could get a really nice bounce off of that. But ultimately, I wouldn't be surprised if we actually still make new lows. I don't love this. So, and the tricky thing is on some other exchanges, like we had, man, we had some like really crazy, like look at this again. So this is Bybit, right? Like we had I mean, the wick down here is at 102,000. Obviously, ton of leverage, right? Got rinsed out here, and this is a weird situation, because it's so different across the board for so many exchanges. And another reason that I kind of like this area too is it's the 618. You see that? So, um, in terms of like looking for a pullback, even on Bybit, there's pretty good confluence for me. Filling in the Coinbase wick, looking at that low, and then coming into some kind like a 618 here on this, on Bybit. But the wick, this is weird, and why I think um, I would take that SFP long if given at 107K, like on Coinbase, which is literally where I'm trading. Um, uh, perps on Coinbase. But I just this is a hard one for me to. This is odd because usually there's not that big of a discrepancy between exchanges, right? Which this was its own special version of. This was a massive washout, literally historic. And so it's this one's a tough one. Like I would say that if that SFP doesn't pan out on Coinbase at 107K and that does not hold, then we are very likely gonna fill this in. Like we're gonna have much lower to go. And so I'd be a bit cautious about that. Um I'd be very cautious about that. So yeah, I don't know. Um uh, I would say anybody have any questions or anything like that? Any comments? I would say like getting back above, like back into this range value area low would be a really good sign. Which we're nowhere near doing that, of course. But I am very interested in this region. Um, I have my green zone here, which I still like this area. I think it's okay. You do have a daily here. Not super strong, but it is there. That's kind of like in the middle of that. I would say that's more for me when I have daily levels that's kind of structured this way. I like it to be, this is more of like an intraday type scalp trade, not necessarily like a region where I want to take massive swing longs or anything like that. But I would say like for a short term intraday type of trade, I love these daily levels for that. Um, but ultimately, like, geez, as crazy as this is, um, I would say like for swing longs, like for like where I'm targeting literally new highs and getting really excited about, um, I ultimately look like for me traditional markets like when we went over the triple Q chart, right? If we get if we do get a deeper pullback on that, and I'll just go back to that very briefly. Which I think it was this chart. If we do get a pullback, down to here, which I'm not saying that we are. To me, I mean, the first step is you got to lose this key level first, right? Like we have not lost that. In fact, we've arguably come down to it and had reacted off of that so far. So like, this is not like, this is not real in any like significant danger at this current time of this happening. But if we do lose this key level at 588.5, the next level of interest for me that like where I would get really excited about seeing is this kind of like 539, 540 region. My point is, if we do, if the floodgates kind of open up, we lose this level, and then we're looking for a deeper correction, then Bitcoin 100K or even sub 100K becomes extremely possible, right? Would you guys agree? Like that's, like that's certainly on the table. So, I'll say this: I feel I love this triple Q chart. I think that if we somehow do get this pullback, here, which would be significant, then kind of where we are when we hit this is like I'll be looking like, where are we market wide? Like what's going on everywhere else? Because I like this level a lot, and it's very easy to manage risk off of this level. So going back to Bitcoin, again, if triple Qs are pulling back that much, we are very unlikely going to be sitting where we are right now. I would argue we're probably going to be down here, right? This is my guess. Which that would be, another 8. That would not be asking that much, right? Like, what's that, 8-10% puts us down here. Which that again, that triple Qs would be down 9%, from literally where we are now down there. That would not be asking that much to see Bitcoin pull back into there. Arguably, I mean, we could be even lower, right? So anyway, is that what I think is happening right here? I think that it's very possible. I am starting to entertain looking for longs in this region because we've pulled back so much. That's what I will say. And I am paying a lot of attention here, but I'm not long yet. And but for a swing long, where what I love to see is down here, somewhere in this region, which is sub 100K, by the way. I would love to run this low, something like that. I would love to see that happen. But that's nowhere near where we are now. And, it's kind of like one level at a time. I think that if we do lose, 105K, something like that, then we are very much looking for lower levels. Like, so, which I think could take us sub 100K. So, anyway, we're not, arguably, we're not like in severe danger here. I think this is a really nice rejection off of here, but again, we're just filling in a lot of this, which is normal, which I would say again is the main reason why I'm entertaining starting to look for longs in this region, just because of that. Like I've kind of like checked this off that we've filled this in, and arguably like we've hit, you saw like on that Bybit chart and other exchanges, we basically tagged the 618 of like that crazy liquidation wick, which I don't love that by any means, but it is there. But I would say that if we lose, I would just say this daily, like if we lose 105, oh man, like it's not the end of the world. I think that it's just would be setting us up for, at that point, like I'd probably be looking a lot deeper. But I would love that for a long though. You know what I mean? Like I think it's probably going to be a decent opportunity, if given. So not the end of the world, but we are down. Like, I mean, we're obviously significantly off the highs. But I don't think that it's game over necessarily yet. Like I would say like I don't think that like I still think that we have room to make new highs. Is what I'm saying. Like it's just a matter from where. And I personally would I personally would love lower. Um, to you know, if the stars aligned and triple Qs came down to that key level, and you know, if we kind of given like a perfect scenario, then that would be nice. Do I think that's gonna happen? I mean, probably not. That seems a little too easy. But yeah, like I think we're down in the region of looking, you know, where I do think that maybe we get another test of this anchored VWAP, like another formal test. That is kind of like a decent area, I would say, you know, and I'll kind of give you like what my thoughts are around this trade. Is I would look, um, we're near an area of interest, and I keep saying that. But I think that managing risk around here is like I like the risk reward of looking for long here. You're too, to me, too late to short. You missed your last nice short opportunity was literally the rejection off this pivot, right? So do we go like pivot to pivot? I think that that could definitely happen. Which like I'm kind of eyeballing. Like if we get the swing failure pattern that at 107K, but we push down to like 106 first and tag this S1 and go like pivot to pivot, I think that that would be nice confluence here in this region. You do have this daily here. You have your S1. It's like in my green zone of hopefully prosperity. And kind of like what would be kind of like a nice thing to see is like hypothetically, like if we did get a move down here and then a move back above 107, and then we start working our way up, right? So it's like you have your swing failure pattern into support. Again, this is like perfect scenario. Doesn't do this. I don't know. Probably not. Um, but I would like a move into here, and then, I mean, you could be really aggressive. And if you're in front of your computer or you put your stops in, you'd be really aggressive and just try to like kind of long here and see what happens. I personally won't be taking like massive size here. I would rather wait for a sign of strength before I get confident enough to want to, go crazy here. But I do think that this is a region to be paying attention. I mean, right now, even on today, we're making new lows still. So, like, arguably, even while I'm talking about this, um, you know, that's why I'm not scrambling to just, get into longs at this current time. But I think we are close for, again, at least some kind of a bounce, right? So maybe like a bit lower, but maybe we can get like if we get a swing failure pattern here, we get a push into 106 support. You have your daily, you have your S1, and then maybe we can get up to 110 or something like that. Like it could be a nice scalp at a minimum, I would say. With potential to maybe turn into a nice swing. But this is the first area that I'm looking at. Second area is really like, geez. I mean, you're getting, let's just say it's lower than 105. Okay. I think that we're near, again, talking in circles a little bit, but I'm a little out of practice as well, like as far as streams go. But I do think that we're really close. I am paying very close attention, and I am looking for longs in this region. But very tight risk. Not, I mean, if you're comfortable with it, which I think that's asking, depending, like there's a million ways to play this. I prefer to kind of like try to catch good entries and be patient and look for really good setups and then trade accordingly, right? Some people will just start laddering in, and you're like ladder in here, and then as you get lower, the orders get bigger, right? There's a million ways that you could play this. Depends on the kind of trader that you are, or whatever, what time frames you're looking at. I'm more of like I would rather save my capital for what I'm have good conviction with my entries, right? And try to not do too much of the laddering like that. Although because that's the thing, like if we break 100K, oh my goodness, like you know what the timeline's going to look like. If we break 100K, it's going to be pain and suffering, and people are going to be crying and saying the top's in, I told you, and all that and whatnot. But in reality, I think that honestly is I think that could be a really nice opportunity, kind of like coming into this region. Again, we've been looking at this levels for a long time now. But I would love to get something in this region. I just don't know if we will. I take it level at a time. Any questions? For me, today's stream was about sharing my indicator with everybody, the liquidity index, so that going forward, we all know what it means and we'll be tracking it. And then obviously went over some traditional market stuff, took a look at Bitcoin. Um, and again, arguably, like this is not a place to be aggressively short, I would say. Like if you're not in a position, not financial advice, of course, but my goodness, this is a dangerous, scary place to be looking for shorts if like you're just trying to get in position now. I would ask why you aren't already in one. I wasn't, like I said earlier, I wasn't an ETH short from 42. I don't know. I was 42.60 and 42.80 is where my orders were. But I closed that just because again we're kind of like coming into this region where I think we could bounce or at least form some kind of lower time frame range. So I felt good about closing that ETH short. But yeah, I am actively looking for positions. Somewhere around kind of like in this region that we discussed. I'll be paying a lot of attention over the next day or two. And kind of the last thing I'd say about being careful in in the environment that we're currently in and waiting for tweets from certain people that really move markets sometimes. Um, it's Thursday, getting close to the weekend again, so be real careful. Um, be real careful. Uh, Trading the weekend. So, is there anything else you guys want to look at? I have all the time in the world, but I don't know how much. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to look at. I'm happy to look at whatever. So,
I'm pretty curious on Litecoin. I kind of played that one.
Litecoin.
Yeah.
Litecoin, my chart is a mess. In fact, like, look, it's
Oh my.
it's. I'm just gonna delete some things. That way, it kind of cleans it up, and I have not cleaned up my Litecoin chart in a while. Like, look at this, right? Like, it went all the way down to 70 on Coinbase, but it went lower on some areas or some other exchanges, right?
Yeah, 60 something.
Yeah, so like um for I would say for Litecoin, it's very, very simple. You're in a massive range. There's I like the red as long as you're below like 145, you just trade the range, which is why you would be looking to buy in this region. You know what I mean? Like it just is what it is. Like you trade this range, it is what it is. Um, like literally down to your point of control, right? On Coinbase, of course. But oh, man, like I like Litecoin as I really need to like redo this chart completely. I like Litecoin as like whatever. Like I'm a fan of Litecoin. But the chart is not the best. It has its moments where it's extremely strong. Like when I was talking about it this summer, and I just kept saying Litecoin, 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 Litecoin. Like that was the one to be watching. It was very strong. But it cannot break out above like this red zone of death, right? Like until now, what I will say is that I think that if you see Litecoin above 145, I I think that it's gonna I think it has the potential. Being in this kind of range consolidation for the last 3 years plus, right? Oh my goodness. I think if this does break 145 and the rest of the market's looking good, it doesn't honestly even have to look at like super, super solid. I think if that happens, Litecoin's gonna move a lot. Like I could see another run up to like this next red zone of death, like all the way up here, right? Um, I think that it could have a massive, massive move. But again, during this time, um, which to be honest with you, like I haven't even traded this as brutally as I should. Thankfully, like I was reducing risk and selling, and I was trading this pretty well, but not as like aggressively, like all of like trading my whole Litecoin bag. You know, I kind of wish I did a little bit more. But until Litecoin gets above this red zone right here, like you can't expect anything different. You know what I mean? So anyway, trade the range. Buy low, like buy geez, if you see Litecoin again in the 70s, so again, you're thinking about like, do I think Bitcoin is like I think Bitcoin has a pretty decent chance to see low hundreds. Low 100K. And sub 100K would be even better. I think that it's there. It's possible. But we haven't really broke like major. Well, it's tough because of that washout last week. But and I'm not gonna lie to you. Like this environment is not easy. It's not easy. Like this is a tough one for me to kind of navigate. I'm not gonna lie. Like it's a little hard. You know, there's last week really was threw a wrench in things a little bit. Really, like as far as charts go, right? Um, but on Litecoin, I think that if we do fill in this wick or like get a bit of a move lower, I don't think it's a horrible buy. Um, Assuming things don't change with the liquidity index and stuff like that. Like I don't think it's a terrible buy. It's just right here, right now, with kind of like where things are. I'm not interested in looking. The stuff that I did. I have been trading Litecoin like a bit. Um, but like smaller size, and it's just the stack that I freaking should have sold. The rest of what I should have sold. I did have some very good exits, like extremely good exits, but I wasn't as aggressive as I should have been. Um, but like the stuff that I've been trading here locally, like I'm not really interested in buying back yet. So like I sold some Litecoin at 102, not that much. But I'm not, I'm not quite scrambling to buy right here because I think that we actually could see a bit lower. Um, so yeah, Litecoin's a mess. This is a messy chart though. Like not, I mean, my chart literally is messy. But like the price action of Litecoin, this is really weird. Like it's very like this is a weird chart. It's the only word I can think of. But I would say keep it simple. Buy at extremes, sell at extremes until proven otherwise. Like that's all. Like don't need to overcomplicate it, right? Everything in between this, yes, that there like of course that there's trade setups on lower time frames, like if you're looking for them. But swing like looking for, higher time frame swings, not really interested, kind of where I'm starting to get interested, but I'm not as interested as I would like Litecoin a bit lower before I want to put some before I want to like rebuy some Litecoin that I sold, basically. What I'd say. If it pushes up again without me, then I still have a Litecoin bag and it is what it is. And I will probably sell it if it pushes up into these highs. But again, if it gets above 145 and you have a nice strong close above, I think after this long consolidation, I would be extremely hesitant to want to fade Litecoin if that happens. We're in no danger of that happening. Okay, literally look at last week. Okay. Litecoin, if you remember, just before the crash, it was ripping. It was literally 135. It was one of the strongest alts out there, right? It was ripping.
Yeah.
And then things happened and people got carried out. And then you see, $70 on Coinbase and lower on others, $60 and lower on some other exchanges. So like it again, like it has the potential. And arguably it didn't really look that bad before this move, but here locally, it doesn't look so good. Now I would say that, like if you're looking like really low time frames, could you mark this off as a range? And you want to get down on the, like lower time frame, like looking to trade this maybe, and you're kind of like in this region, where like you could maybe look for a scalp, or something like that, especially if you take this low, something like this, right? So kind of like do something like that, and you at least have your stop, and then look to take it here and then shut it down. You like that's if you want to go down on lower time frames. Yeah, like there are setups to be looking for, but you know, I'm kind of more focused on swing trades at the time, or like right now, like where would I want to kind of be in position for a little while. Um, and you know, arguably, like it's probably a bit lower. This be even high, something like this. So like 382. So like maybe like 83, something like that. You had like your, and again, this is really tough. This is really difficult because other exchanges and why like I'm kind of like, I don't know. Is you know, there was so much there's so much like discrepancies between exchanges. But Coinbase I think is extremely like I think Coinbase is the one to watch. Like that's what I care about. And that's where I'm trading mostly. Um I wish they had Litecoin perps on Coinbase. Maybe they will someday soon, but they don't. But yeah, this is kind of like you know, but is there any really good confluence here? No, there isn't. Like this you know, like there's no good confluence here to kind of reinforce this being a good level. So that's another thing. Like that I don't love this. I would say if you're scalping, you are probably close. Now again, I wouldn't aggressively short this by any means. Like if I'm scalping lower time frames, this is just not my that's not what I would want to do here. But I do think that if you kind of run this low and you know, you have more of a scalp long than anything, but I don't you know, in terms of like swings, geez, I'll tell you, like in terms of swings, I would love a retest of this. This is the truth. I would love a retest of that. Do we get it? I don't know. Like that seems stupid, right? Like that seems like a lot to ask. But after last week, I don't know. Like I said, this is tough. This is like a tougher environment. But some consolidation around here, which we've seen this happen before in different cycles. You know, like where you have some consolidation, and then maybe we do get that test down, and then the bounce. I would love that. That makes my decision making a little easier if I see something like that. So that's asking.
Just mention the low on Bybit is 47.
Bybit is what?
The Bybit low is 47 bucks.
Yeah, I mean, on like a lot of the leverage exchanges, it's going to be. I mean, people got this decimated. Like there's, and which again is that makes it hard. That makes it harder. I think like my gut tells me that if I'm going to trust any data, like any levels, it's for me. I think it's Coinbase. Like that's where I would focus. I feel which was the least impacted, right, by that. But again, am I right? Maybe, maybe not. But I would be more like I have been looking at like, you know, again, my analysis switched to Coinbase like 2 years ago or whatever. Like I've been doing Coinbase charts. I used to, obviously when I traded on Bybit, you know, I'm a big fan of trade, you know, using the exchanges that you're trading on. But I can't trade on Bybit. So I don't use those charts as much anymore. But I still think that the information from Bybit is very valuable. They're a huge exchange. Like I think it's valuable. But again, some of those charts are going to look a lot worse because, you know, especially when people got washed out huge and got liquidated, like the wicks are crazy, right? So it's kind of hard to it's a tough call in terms of like what data to trust and like what levels to look at because some levels got absolutely just rinsed all the way through. So it's like, was that tagged? Was it not tagged? You know, I would say like case by case basis, like kind of like what, and this is where like gut instinct comes in. I'll just say again for Litecoin, I am not interested here yet. I'm getting again, just like Bitcoin, I'm like kind of getting interested in you know paying attention to lower kind of like what's happening on lower time frames. I don't feel great about this right here. Again, maybe like you're kind of getting close to maybe a scalp long, and that's different than swings, of course. Like scalps, like intraday type of stuff. But best case for me, good best case scenario, I would love a run of this low, especially some kind of SFP after some time, right? Like this can take another week or two. I would love some to get built up here and then fill in the majority of this wick, at least something like that. I see that's like I would feel better about buying some spot Litecoin. Well, I mean, I have spot Litecoin, but like I would in adding more spot Litecoin, like sub $80. You know what I mean? Like I get more comfortable doing that. And you know what? I literally sold at 102, which thankfully that filled on Coinbase. Thankfully that filled. But I didn't buy any on this move down. It was too slow, which I was again lesson learned. Have bids in, which guess what? I still don't have bids in. So maybe I need to do that. But yeah, so kind of here right now, you see how we're literally taking this little like a range low that we're kind of building. So it's not like the cleanest, range. But this, I think you're kind of nearing what could be a scalp long. I'm not really interested in trading this. Again, my preferred thing right now is trading perps on Coinbase, and they don't have Litecoin available yet. Otherwise, I probably would. Like if there was lower time frame stuff, I would trade it. Because I've been trading ETH a lot. So, but anyway, that's that. Litecoin lower. Like I would like it lower. Does it go all the way down here and fill this wick in all the way? I don't know. I would love it though. Like I would love. It's the same thing. Like I would love to take nice swing longs from there. And if the thing is, if Litecoin is down here, Bitcoin's probably 100K, maybe even sub 100K, right? Like that's kind of like stars aligning. Litecoin down here, you know, Bitcoin's probably where I said it was. Triple Qs might even kind of be working its way down to that level. Like it's all nice to think about, but in reality, like we haven't broken any, like especially on triple Qs, like we have not broken any meaningful support yet, right? So it's like it's just kind of like having a roadmap in your head of where you are so that you're prepared if those levels come. But until they do, it's like you know, like you're trading, if you're actively trading you know, on lower time frames, then you focus on that. But the bigger, you know, the bigger picture stuff is just having a nice roadmap of where if this then that, right? Any other questions?
No, I don't think so. But if you want to look at Atom on Binance,
Atom on Binance.
yeah,
Is that USDT? Is it this one?
I think it doesn't really matter which one. I just looked at it.
Damn, I got some old levels. Yeah, that's what I mean. It literally went to zero. Like that's what I was saying. Like it literally went to zero. Remove all of this. Like that's what I mean. Like so. Okay.
Savage.
So is Adam gonna fill in the wick? No, I like you probably not, right? And this is what I mean. Like yeah. How do you analyze this? I have no idea. Like I don't know. Which is why I would absolutely use Coinbase, right? Like that's because again, as far as analyzing this, it throws everything off. I'm just doing this just for fun because I'm curious, but just for fun. Like, yeah, $1.40. Like, I mean, look, what is the low? 0.001. Holy smokes. So that's like, I don't even know, like, look, if you got filled at all, I mean, my goodness, like, this is a dream fill, right? Like if somebody, obviously like somebody probably did get filled, like somebody got filled there. Like, this is like I don't know. I mean, you're up. I don't even know. I don't even want to talk about it because it upsets me because it wasn't me. But that's kind of what I mean. Like, I don't know what to do with this, which is why I wouldn't use this chart personally. Um,
I'm not using it either, but
yeah, it's tough though. Like it printed, it happened. I know people. We were talking. I called, said it in chat. I'm literally went to zero. It's like, I don't know. That was the most savage thing I've ever seen, though. I mean, this obviously, but like just that move in general for everything, that was crazy. But yeah, I don't have much to say about it. Yeah. Anything else you guys want to look at? Stocks, anything like that? Are we good? Probably kind of a long stream already. Yeah, my goodness. I would say that this is just like kind of getting my feet wet again. It's been a little while since I've like done a stream. But sharing a bit about what I've been working on, like I'm always doing something, right? But that we'll be paying attention to that liquidity index and kind of hoping that that does give us a heads up. Will it? I don't know. I hope it does, but I hope it gives us a heads up like it did, previously. But we'll see. And
did you actually build it or
yeah,
someone else?
I did.
You?
Well, it's kind of easy now, like for PineScript coding, right? ChatGPT, like it's pretty easy. So
you actually said couple of years ago, 2 years ago.
yeah, like which before I actually like I was teaching myself PineScript, because I've been coding indicators. Like, I mean, I'm not like some expert or anything like that at doing it, but it's like I've been doing that for quite a while, like for years now. And but it's nice to have something that can do it incredibly fast, a lot faster. And there's stuff that I don't know, that would be very complex to code that you can obviously get coded in seconds now, right? And it's a work in progress. It's not perfect. Like it's, even using ChatGPT, it's not perfect. Like it's still, there's a lot of trial and error. It still makes mistakes, but it is like you can get through it in a day and like have something pretty, pretty polished. Like if you wanted to do some, whatever indicator. I think that the key is like whatever you're doing, it's like I only like to build things or do things that I use, right? Or like that I look at. So it's like Ichimoku. There's stuff like that like I want to have, by like that way, like I don't need, in the past, like there's been some decent indicators that I've used and like they go away or whatever, it's like I just always want something that I control and like that will always be there when I need it to be there type of thing. But the liquidity index, I spent a lot of time on that one actually. And like I said, there's not a lot of data on it. The data that I do have is excellent, but it doesn't matter. It's not like I have, 100 years of like, you know what I'm saying? Like I have like a few examples and they've worked out very well, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect the next time. Which again, I'll be watching. Like I'll be very curious to see what happens the next time we get a signal, which we don't get them often, right? And that's higher time frame stuff. Like this we might not get something. Look, we hope that we don't get something for 6 months or long, right? Like because that would mean that we're still okay. So, the longer that we go without that, hypothetically, we still have time. Like we still have kind of high again. Like how I look at that is we still have higher highs to come. Like potentially, I would say likely, but potentially, they're not off the table for me. I just hope that that doesn't fire like a signal and then we're already down 20% because that would suck. So, I mean, I don't know. It is what it is. Like We'll see what happens. It'll happen at some point. Hopefully, it's a while from now. That's all I got.
I got one.
What?
Galaxy. I've been kind of itching to, I bought Coinbase for like $50 or something crazy. And I've been taking profits in that, for a while. I've been thinking about like just totally rotating my Coinbase into Galaxy.
Where is this?
So GLXY.
There it is.
Basically, I mean, I think we've talked about it before, but
Yeah, this is one that it was on the TSX, and I wanted to buy it when it was like at $1, and I like couldn't, so I hate it and I don't like looking at it.
Well, I like it. I mean, it's got, obviously the crypto angle, but I don't think a lot of people know that they also are into like the AI data center stuff, and it's like huge money.
Yeah, I mean,
So it's kind of got like multiple things going for it. And, relative to like some of these other crypto companies, it's kind of maybe better.
yeah, this is tough. Like this is this is a very good looking chart. Very good looking chart. Here, this is kind of interesting. Yeah, so like this is your prior high. Kind of came up, backed off, came up, chopped around a little bit. So you poked above and then pulled back. And then once you're reclaimed, really nice new highs. I mean, if this managed to come down back to around this key level, that I probably not a terrible look. Not a bad place. I would say like first, like if I was trading this, and that's probably the first place I would look. Back around 46, which is just this prior high, which is like kind of like a decent area, I would say, something like this. This region. Because I think that if you come below it, so like I wouldn't mind a test into here, because you're just buying a mean reversion of this move up, right? It's literally just a mean reversion, and it's into what I would say is a pretty important support that you want to see held. I like that level quite a bit, actually. But yeah, you go below, I would say 45, and then it's not like game over. It's just,
Is that the Canadian chart or what?
yeah, it's TSX. Is there a US chart?
Yeah, it's on the NASDAQ now. It's GLXY.
Oh, I've
I
always
think
had
it's like
this one.
$39 or something. I was
Well, it's
like,
probably going to be the
this
same
shit
thing.
Went up like 50%.
Let me look. Yeah, I've had that chart on there forever. Well, here you go. Well, let's look at this one. I mean, it's probably going to be the same. Whoops. Down here. Yeah. Yeah, so that one already did give you like your retest, So it's like this, yeah. It's already kind of gave you your retest and then your bounce. So if you go below this, I guess the equivalent of that would be around $33. I don't know. I'm not going to do the math, but that is your mean reversion, assuming it's going to be the same thing. The thing is the other chart's a lot cleaner. Like the Canadian chart is cleaner. That's like I don't know what the math would be. Similar zone would be something like this. That's wide though. My other zone wasn't that wide. That's kind of, was it this? Something like that. That's what it was. Yeah. Something like that would be like the equivalent zone on this chart. Give you your mean reversion, and then again, if you came below 31, like 31.75, that just, it's not that, you know, in terms of it, you taking a mean reversion trade, that would probably be a good reason to not want to be long. Although like your, what tends to be a pretty decent level is actually the 618. Like if it's hit, let's say your highs in. I love this on stocks, is literally this level, but you have kind of like your mean reversion trade first that I think is appropriate, and kind of like a back test of this. I don't know. It's kind of like washed out here a bit. I don't know how much I like this, but your mean reversion here would be to, you know, a Kijun retest. But what I love on stocks, that, and this, you know, does pretty well a lot of times, is your 618, but it doesn't get that deep. So depends on what I would say. It depends on like how aggressive you want it to be. The mean reversion is, I would say it's not even really that of an aggressive trade. It's just, it's like a patience trade, right? Like it's waiting for your mean reversion. This is an aggressive long. Like your pullback into this key level retest, and that's an aggressive long. This is more of a patient, like waiting for a pullback. And then your 618 is like, that's just your classic, like you kind of just take it because it's a good level a lot of times, right? Like when you have charts that look like this, where they're just kind of, you know, you have bit pullbacks here and there, but for, it's basically just straight up. Like I really do like the 618s quite a bit, but for at least like a decent bounce. So I would say it depends what you're going for. The Canadian chart, cleaner. It's just it's a cleaner looking chart, but this is, I would say that this depends like how aggressive you want it to be.
I mean, I think it's going. I mean, might be a little crazy, but I think that this could like 3 to 5x in the next 2 to 3 years. So I'm kind of like, it's a longer term buy for me.
Well, I will say that this is I mean, the chart looks great. It looks great. Like looks great. Um yeah. Look a little higher time frame here. Oh boy. It's a little kind of a little ugly. Not the worst, but so here, like your weekly Tenkin is actually closer to your 618. You see that? So that is pretty good confluence. Which like when this broke back above, gave you a nice retest. So this is likely going to move up though over the next month, right? This is going to keep creeping up higher. If you got some kind of a flush on Galaxy, then I would be more like, I would rather take the 618. I would just be just because I'm out. I'm you know, like I haven't been in a position on this ever. So like I wouldn't be in a rush to want to get into this myself. I would definitely be as patient as I could be, but that's just me. But you know, if you look over the next few weeks, if this Tenkin does start creeping up into this green zone, then it's probably going to have better alignment with that daily Kijun, right? Wherever that was. So, yeah. So, you know, I would. It kind of depends, like when it happens. If it does, if it even comes down at all. So I would say first sign of weakness would be taking out this low from the other day at 37.40. So like, especially getting a close below like your Tenkin here, your daily Tenkin, I would just be, because then you have a high, low, lower high, and then if it comes down, takes out this low, then you're back below your $38 like prior all-time high. You know what I mean? Like then it starts to get a little uglier, honestly. But then you would be looking for that deeper pullback / retracement into this support, and then hope that holds. But yeah, like for myself, I wouldn't be just, again, I wouldn't be hyper aggressive here by any means. I'd rather wait for some kind of, sign of strength or something like that, reason for me to get excited. I mean, again, this is a great chart. I'm just saying for like a new position, it's not here for me.
Yeah, I think I only have like maybe 5 to 10% of the position that I want. So like it's one of those things where sometimes I just put it on the page, just in case it goes nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't feel like horrible about it.
And it doesn't look bad at all, right? Like, of course, like the chart overall looks good. I just can't, like, I just don't, like, I look at it, I'm like, I don't want to buy here. I just don't, like, I wouldn't. So I'm either going to wait for a better entry, or I don't. And that's just how I am. As long as you're above 38, there's nothing wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's what I will say. Like, there's nothing wrong with the damn chart. It's a great looking chart. Especially as long as you're above 38, especially as long as you're above your high or your low from 2 days ago. Like, you're okay. This looks good. In fact, it's kind of like you got your breakout, and then if you pull back, it's like you're pulling back to test your support, and then you got another nice bounce off of that. So arguably, like, there's nothing wrong with this chart. It's just if it was to close below 38, especially take out the low from 2 days ago, then yeah, I would look for a deeper pullback. And which is again, that's like an opportunity for me. I would say that's where I would get more excited versus trying to chase it here. And it gets a little muddier, like managing your risk. Although, like, I would say, I don't know, it's not exciting for me here, but it could be lower if it did, or if it kind of gave some kind of maybe like longer consolidation, there was some kind of range, then it's like you trade on lower time frames hoping for continuation higher or something like that, sure. But it's just, as it sits, nothing for me here. But maybe soon. Who knows? I might join you on the Galaxy trade. I don't know. Like, it's just
thanks.
I don't have any issue with it.
That's like half my portfolio right now is like just a 5% of the position I want and hoping it tanks, because like everything has just been up only.
Yeah.
Well, recently.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's it for me. Let's see how long this stream went for. Hour and a half, not too bad. So anyway, I will catch you guys on the next stream, and trade safe out there. It's a crazy one. Don't be real careful coming into this weekend. Unlikely that we get some kind of. I don't think we're gonna get anything like we got last week, probably for a really long time. But it's just be careful. A lot going on in the world. A lot of news going on in the world. Lots of certain people in office tweeting, and that causes it's a crazy time. So trade safe out there.